All right, today's episode, inmate from Epstien prison speaks out. All right, the situation in there with the cameras and all this stuff. This guy was there, I want to say right before Epstien got there or something like that. So he's familiar with the layout, and he's going to, give us some insight on why everybody thinks there's a cover-up.
So one thing that's missing from the coverage of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal is the voices of people who served in the Metropolitan Correctional Center with him or near the time that he did where he met his end. And so to try to rectify that, we're joined now by journalist, activist, and former MCC inmate, Martin Gottesfeld. Marty, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
So I didn't realize that. So nobody from the prison has really went on the record about what allegedly happened there. That's kind of weird. What's up, Chris? Good evening, sir.
Ryan, thank you for having me.
So to set the stage here, can you talk about the time that you served inside the MCC and how that relates to Jeffrey Epstein's time there?
Okay, so I was there from November 2016 to early February 2017. Epstein died there about 2.5 years after I left. But at the time I arrived...
Okay, so he was there about 2.5 years before Epstein got there.
Arrived at MCC. Epstein had not yet been there. El Chapo had not yet been held there. And the facility was really kind of flying under the radar. People really weren't aware of it, even though that attorneys and prisoners had been active trying to reform the facility for a long time. The facility was already dilapidated. The staff were already out of control. Disaster was very clearly on the horizon. Anyone could see it. But at the time, I was a contributor for HuffPost, and you were my editor there, and we published quite a bit about the facility before it rose to national prominence. And so we were really kind of like the early warning system that something was very likely to happen here.
All right, and so one of Epstein's, tell us about your connection to one of Epstein's cellmates.
So Epstein's, I understand, was Epstein's first cellmate, Nick Tartaglione. I was in the SHU on G tier, so the SHU's got different halls. They're called tiers, where you can have cells, right? And G tier in that SHU is the most elite. It's where the high profile guys tend to go. And so I was already on G tier when Tartaglione came in, was arrested fresh off the street, had never seen a jail cell from the inside before. He was a cop, so he had seen lockup, but had never actually experienced it.
Tartaglione, huh? Who's that? A cop? A dirty cop?
I understand that Nick was not Epstein's cellmate at the time of the death. I think that's important to underscore here.
Right.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about the way that the cameras work?
I can tell you a lot.
Here we go. This is the good stuff. This is, a friend of mine sent me this, and this is why, I wanted to take a look at it, because this guy's gonna explain what he knows about the cameras and where they're at and how they work and how they usually have been working, I guess.
And we have this on A5, by the way. We can loop this. This is the video that Pam Bondi released. And Marty, you've certainly seen this by now. It's obviously, as Wired has said, spliced together. It's missing a second, and now people are actually saying around 3 seconds.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. I'm sorry.
And they tried to explain away 1 minute as a nightly systems reboot, but then there's apparently 2 other minutes.
That's the video they released. This is my first time seeing this. That's the bullshit video they released. That's supposed to... What does that show you about anything, about what happened? That allegedly supposed to happen. Okay. That's pretty funny.
I should add, I've not double-checked the digital forensics on this myself. One thing, given my background, the government alleged...
Is it Epstein's ghost? What the fuck is going on there? I see some little silhouette thing. What the fuck is this? Oh, bullshit. What is this?
I'm a hacker with Anonymous, and that I single-handedly orchestrated one of the largest cyber attacks the government had ever seen. So I just have to say I've not double-checked the digital forensics on that.
Good Lord. All right. This guy's talking too much shit now. My bullshit's meter going off. I'm the best hacker in the world, anonymous. Why you got to? It's all bullshit anyway, people. Let me just stop and get through this.
So I'm going off of what Wired wrote.
Yeah.
To my understanding, there's no meaningful contradiction. Like no one's come forward with an alternative theory or whatever. But I can't personally vouch for the digital forensics on the files. But I mean that's a view from another tier. And so the tiers are stacked like one on top of another, and they're in different like arms shooting off from the main area in the shoe. And you can see the officer's station there from visible from that tier.
You guys just saw that clip, so that's what they released. Did I miss it? If you're watching the replay, if you saw something in that clip that points to what might have happened to Epstein before he passed, before he allegedly offed himself, let me know in the comments, because I didn't see anything. Not that I was expecting to, but I could be, my eyesight ain't that good. We getting old out here. Let me know if you saw something, and if I just missed it, please point it out in the comments.
But obviously there's no cell doors, right? And so this doesn't really make a lot of sense. The video is not particularly useful for anything. And in that shoe, just so you guys know, because this is something that's not been covered, there's a camera in every cell. And on G tier, there's 2 cameras in every cell. And the problem is that guys cover them up, right? Like you're trying to use the bathroom. There's a camera pointing at you. Like, what are you going to do? You cover the camera up, right? And so pretty much at any given time in the occupied cell in that shoe, the camera's covered. Now, that's against policy, but the facility, I mean, what are they going to do? Send a team to every single cell every single day to uncover these cameras? Because the guys will just cover them back up again. You also, though, expect that they would have cameras in the hallway, that we would have a camera that's facing Epstein's cell door, right? And there's no explanation given for why that tape is missing or, what happened to that camera. And they're trying to say the cameras weren't working, the DVR.
All right, so he just rattled off 2 cameras that should have footage of Epstein's cell at the time. Okay. Now, I'm just making a note of that. If I missed something, let me know in the chat.
System had problems with the hard drives, all this. Okay, in the floor above that shoe is the 10 South Special Administrative Measures Unit. Okay, this is national security stuff. This is like where the 9/11 guys were held. These are the guys who don't even get attorney-client privilege. Even their attorney-client meetings, their visits with their attorney are listened in on by DOJ. Right, this is the highest of high security, and they're saying that, the floor right below it that someone could use to access the 10 South unit had no working cameras, or the drives were bad. Epstein died a month, 2 months after El Chapo left. It strikes me as very unlikely the cameras would be allowed to get into that position, and very scary if in fact they would.
So this is why I wanted to take a look at that little clip that they released that shows like nothing. It's a loop of nothing. It's the weirdest shit ever.
What's your sense of, knowing people who kind of come in and out of that place? What's your sense of whether or not he would have been in a state of mind to have given up on his defense? Like, you've seen other white collar criminals come and go.
Yeah.
Do they? Because one argument is this he felt like his life was over, and so that's a reason why he would just take his life.
Yeah. One thing about people like Epstein, their ego is way too big, okay, in my opinion. You guys leave your comments in the chat if you're watching the replay. These people, from what I understand of how the psychology works with these type of people, it does not, they will not do that. They think they're going to get away with all the bullshit they're perpetrating, okay? That's why they do it, okay? From what I understand, you guys let me know what you think in the chat about that.
He had this high-flying life, jets, mansion, partying, the elites, and now all of a sudden he's here. So it makes sense that he would just be like, you know what, I'm out of here. I cannot take this abrupt shift. What's your read on knowing other people?
Not buying that excuse at all.
people who've gone through that situation.
First, I obviously can't comment to his particular state of mind or his mental health, right? I can say that generally speaking, I have two problems with the narrative that he took his own life. The first is that, any good attorney would have told him that he's got two things that are very important going for him. First, he's got the money to retain a vigorous defense team, right? And this can really matter because, I put this in my write-up. You only need look as far as Sean P. Diddy Combs, right? Who just beat federal sex trafficking.
P. Diddy Combs. That's really not a good example because they didn't, the Diddy case, they did not bring any evidence of trafficking, okay? They brought evidence of him hiring prostitutes and Ubering prostitutes around. And there was evidence of him assaulting his girlfriend at the time in the hotel, like solid evidence of assault, domestic or domestic abuse, whatever you want to call it. Solid evidence of bribing those security guys to get the tape from them or not to release the tape. Solid evidence of the prostitutes he hired to have sex with his girlfriend. That's all they really presented in the Diddy case. Not so when people make these comparisons between Epstein and Diddy, just because there was a trafficking charge and just because they had that on the list in Diddy's case, doesn't make it. It's still apples and oranges in my opinion. There was no evidence, and that's why he only got convicted. Okay, there was no evidence of trafficking. That means doing something to people against their will, right? There was no evidence of that. All they presented in the Diddy case was him hiring prostitutes. People actually tried to conflate that, like, oh, he transported the prostitutes around to the parties and stuff. That's not trafficking. You don't have to be a legal expert to understand that. You guys let me know what you think in the chat. They've been trying to make that Diddy Epstein connection. I don't know if it's to deflect from Epstein. I don't know why they're doing that. Oh, I say they. I'm talking about mainstream media. Okay. And so they started doing that early on. And, like I said, superficial, on the surface, it's kind of similar, but nothing. Diddy is no Epstein, okay? He could never, he wasn't at that level with this shit, as far as the shenanigans. I'll just say that.
Charges in the same courthouse brought by the same prosecutors who are going after Epstein, right? He had a big legal team. He did it. If you read the media and the press, you would have thought he was done for, but, he had the money for the lawyers and they squeaked it out.
Yeah, no, I disagree with that. What he said there, like his legal team, did some crazy, fucking, legal magic and got him out of that. No, there was nothing to convict him. They convicted him the prosecution convicted him. I'm sorry, the jury convicted Diddy on the evidence that the prosecution presented, which was prostitution. Okay. Did they even was there even with the Cassie thing? I don't know. With the assault, he was on tape beating her up in the hallway. Did he get? I didn't think they got anything like that on him. Anyway, I disagree with this comparison. Okay, why people try to do this, I don't know. Look, OJ, all right, his legal team, yeah, they earned their money. All right, Diddy, them they didn't have to. Yeah, there was no case there for the other shit. That's why he didn't get convicted on the other shit.
Right. So, I don't really buy it. And Sean, Combs, he didn't kill himself. It's called hanging it up in prison parlance, but he didn't do it. Right. Facing a very similar racket in the same courthouse. They actually held him in a slightly different facility, but it's also, very poor conditions. It's the ADX Max shoe in Brooklyn. And I've also done time there. I've done time in the shoe where Diddy was and in the time where Epstein was.
So this guy I'm a little perplexed at what this guy, he said he's a writer. He writes, but he's in prison all the time. What's going on? Who is this guy again? Yeah, this guy, he said he's some kind of hacker, He did say that. He said he's like one of the top hackers in the world. For some reason, he threw that in there. So again, this guy on my bullshit radar, he's really setting shit off.
So, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't hang it up. And then as to the second thing is that Epstein was in a position potentially to cut a deal, either with the Trump administration or with some future administration. He had no shortage of people that he could have informed on, right? And there's actually a federal rule of criminal procedure. It's Rule 35B, right, where the court can depart downward, can give a much lighter sentence. It can give a sentence lower than the statutory minimum.
Now, I agree with him on that. Again, there was no reason for Epstein to go that extreme, okay, to be like, oh my God, it's all over, and do that, because that's what they're trying to tell us, right? He was just defeated, so he just checked out. Well, like you said, all he had to do was drop dime on somebody. He could have made whatever kind of deal, okay? We're talking about decades, okay? Decades of these shenanigans and the people involved and the blackmail implications, and there's video. They admitted there's everything. All them properties were videoed. There was video cameras everywhere. There's a lot of video evidence that they confiscated, allegedly. The FBI, they said that. So yeah, he wasn't sitting in there worried about being in prison for the rest of his life. I don't think so. You guys let me know what you think. There's no way Epstein was sitting there for, how long was he even in there for again? And that should to be like, oh my God, it's all over. No, he wasn't sitting in there sweating at all, if you ask me. You guys let me know what you think.
So even if he was facing, like, say, a statutory minimum of 10 years, the court could go below that statutory minimum if he had provided substantial assistance in prosecuting another individual, right? And so the guys that you think of in prison as being desperate enough to take their own lives are generally the ones, right, whose all their boys have figured them out, right? Everyone's ratted on them. They have no one left to sell out.
Exactly. They've got nothing else. When you've got no other options, that's a different story. And you got no money. You got no money to drag the shit out, or whatever. Then yeah, that's a whole different story. Epstein, that was not his situation. Okay.
For a deal. Right. That's the guy who's, in my opinion, the very large suicide risk. And here's the other thing too. Epstein was a Wall Street quant, right? And if you do any game theory study, you hear about the prisoner's dilemma, right. Which is basically the question of, do you rat someone else out in jail? That's one of the core exercises in game theory. I'm sure Epstein was familiar with it. It would be very unlikely in my mind that he would not have heard of the prisoner's dilemma. And so, I've got these problems with the narrative.
And from your understanding of the layout of the jail, does the footage that we have cover all the ways in and out, or would there have been other ways that people could move around?
Also, the footage doesn't even show the main entrance to the shoe. Mm-hmm. That camera does not even show the main entrance to the shoe. The main entrance to that shoe actually has written above it, or had written above it when I was there, America's strongest shoe. It says that right as you walk into that shoe.
Right.
So if it showed the front door, that's what it would show. This is the footage from some ancillary tier that is, and again, it's built with this central region where you have a little law library cage, and you have the officer station, and then there are hallways shooting off in different directions, and they're stacked one on top of the other. So you'll have G tier above H tier, right? J tier above I tier, right? And they shoot off in all these different directions. The narration of the footage that I've seen shows that Epstein's tier was somewhere off way to the right of the footage that's been released. Right? And there should be another tier camera. Like the camera that you're seeing here, right? It's recording the people walking onto a tier, the entrance of which is below the camera, right? So anyone coming onto this tier has to cross this camera and be seen. There should be a camera just like that on the tier where Epstein's cell actually was, but we've not seen footage from that camera.
So that's interesting. They're showing footage from cameras, but not the ones on his tier, all right? All right, we'll show you some footage. Is this the tier? No, that's the tier above his. What the fuck you gonna show me that for? right? You know, this is the shit they're doing. Which again, this is the funny part to me. So this is why I will take the time to look at this shit, because this shit's pretty funny. Hey, you gonna show it? Yeah. Here's some video. Wait a minute, what is this? That's the floor above Epstein's cell. Well, why are you showing me this? Oh, you wanted to see some footage. Like, is that what these people are fucking thinking in their head? Hilarious, man.
And so are there other things, as you've thought about this for years now, about the facility that people don't know? Like, that you wouldn't know if you were just sort of a member of the public, that influence the way you see the allegation that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself? Like, are there things going on there that make you see this story differently than if you've never stepped foot inside the shoe, people would see it?
The stuff that I've gone over, I mean, obviously knowing the facility itself and having experienced the staff, I sued over this facility. I filed in federal court because of the conditions there. So yeah, I mean, it is, I will say that it is a place where people can feel particularly desperate, especially in the winter or the summer, because you freeze in the winter and you boil in the summer in that shoe.
I'm still trying to figure out who this guy is and why, if he's a journalist, why is he in prison all the time? So does he go to prison on purpose so he could write about it? That's like more interesting to me than what they're talking about. I'm like, okay, who are you? What do you do again? Why are you always in prison? Like, why are you in prison and you get out, you know, and you got time to write articles and sue, you know, bring federal lawsuits and shit? Like, what is it just like that's how he investigates shit? He just, okay, I want to investigate this prison. Let me go spend some time there. Is that what this guy does?
There's no air conditioning. The heat is insufficient. You know, I had leaky water. There's cockroaches and rodents. You know, so that.
What do you expect? It's prison. I don't give a fuck about you.
I mean, I can see how someone could potentially get somewhat desperate. But again, you know, you have all these guys who are facing, like, frankly, worse situations, who don't have the money for the attorneys.
I'm curious. I want to know how many people actually believe Jeffrey Epstein really killed himself. Like, I don't believe that. I don't know anybody that does. Based on what we know and then what they're doing now with this cover-up, you know, I'm not saying he ain't dead. This is my opinion, is that Epstein was not dead when he left that. I don't know if he's dead now, okay? He was not dead when he left that prison. Because if he was, and again, there's the thing with the pictures and the ears and the nose don't match up. Not even going to waste time with that nonsense, okay? If Epstein had killed himself, they would have just, why didn't they just fake some footage, man? Like, they're showing grainy ass, but like, just fake some shit, showing somebody hanging themselves. Like, just, you know. But they're doing everything but that. So that's why I believe they're doing all this extra shit for a reason, right? So obviously, what's the conclusion I come up with? He was not dead when he left that facility. I'm not saying he ain't dead now. But the fact that they're going, you know, they're doing this is really foolish. All the shit they're doing now, releasing video footage from everywhere in the prison, but his cell, like, you know, it's just really silly at this point. So that's my opinion on that. You guys let me know what you think.
The story is that the guards who were subsequently fired they were distracted, they were asleep, they just missed what was happening. That also is an element that it seems insane to a layperson.
I forgot about that too. They said the people that were supposed to be working, they were all asleep or not paying attention. I forgot about that. YouTube. Look, there are a lot of people in the political space that are really riled up about this, and their expectations are, in my opinion, way off. Okay, you think you're gonna get a straight answer out of these people? This is all this shenanigans they're pulling. They're never gonna tell us what really happened. You know, I don't expect that. Let me know what you think. You think you're going to get some answers from any administration? It ain't just about the Trump ministry. You know, like, Trump was involved. That's why. All these motherfuckers were involved. All these, you know, come on, man. The flight logs What'd they say? You know, Clinton's on there 30 times. Like, you know, all this wild shit, man. It's like, you really think these people are going to implicate themselves or create a situation where they're going to have to be accountable by, you know, releasing this evidence? I don't see that happening. These people are in charge. They're not going to shoot themselves in the foot. That's my thought on that. So that's what perplexes me with the you know, back and forth going on out here in this space. Like, there are a lot of people that seem to be, that are really invested, and they think, you know, yeah, nobody's going to prison, nobody's going to jail, nobody's going to be implicated, charged, you know. That's never going to happen. I don't see that happening. So that part makes sense to me as well. Yeah, they don't have video footage of the guys doing their security checks. What else is new?
People, and in the middle of the night, like, if you can get away with staying in your chair and you know, closing your eyes and sleeping, you're probably going to do it. So
the fact that they couldn't produce any video footage of at all, like from the whole night, is that what they're saying? There's no video footage of the security doing their job, which is to walk around and on those tiers in those, you know, inmate areas and make sure, you know, nothing weird going on. So yeah, that's strange to me that there's no, from the whole entire shift. Is, if I heard them correctly, that's what he's saying. They didn't produce any video footage of the security doing their rounds at all.
Like, coming and going. And I was up late writing a lot. I took 500 pages of notes in that shoot because Rolling Stone had asked me to, you know, write down everything for a piece that they were working on about my case. So I have 500 pages of notes, date and timestamp, about everything that happened in that shoot. And yeah, so there were.
Why was he in there? He didn't, I don't remember him saying why he was in there, but he was already like so he was working, writing his piece for the Rolling Stone while he was in there. This guy is yeah. Who is this guy? What is he? What do you do for a living? What the hell's going on here? So I learned something today. Yeah, I did not know that there was. I had never seen that released, that bullshit video they did release. That was my first time seeing it. I didn't see. I saw exactly what I expected to see, which is nothing. So the interesting part to me about this is that the fact that they're showing video from above there, underneath his, you know, they're showing video over here, over there, but they're not showing any video from his tier on that prison. That's what I got from that. Never gonna see it. Yeah, we're not gonna see it, in my opinion. You guys, let me know what you think in the comments. All right. Inmate from Epstien prison speaks. He gave us some insight. That was some interesting information there. So yeah. All right. French Frequency, stay tuned, y'all. We got more coming your way. It's your man in the building.
DJ Pearly Q.
We'll catch you on the next episode. Appreciate everybody.